Hello and welcome to Power of 3 Consulting. Today we're going to cover ACT navigation basics. For this video I'm using ACT 2013 Premium and I'm using the demo database, but I have a custom layout. Your database may look something more like ACT Demo if you're looking at the demo database yourself, or the basic contact layout. I'm going to go ahead and switch it back to the PO3 demo. Now you'll notice as I change the view in the layout that the fields moved around on the screen. It didn't change the actual structure of the database on the back end, but the layout file, which you choose from this drop down here, controls where the fields appear on the screen and can even control the tabs down here at the bottom, including custom tabs. So there are a ton of options around customizing your database, both from a field perspective on the back end as well as the layout in terms of where the fields appear on the screen. One of the things that we like to do for our customers is really quiz them about what are the fields they want to be able to see every time they go to a contact record, and we make sure that those are on the top half of the screen here. So just so you know, you can do a lot of customization of the ACT view or layout. The second thing I want to point out is that ACT is very contact centric. So I'm looking at the detail view of a contact right here, or I can switch back and forth between the detail view and the list view. So these are two common views that are very helpful in ACT, and they are basically contact centric. So once you kind of wrap your brain around the contact is at the center of the wheel and all the other things around it are the spokes of the wheel, that's probably the best way to think about it. So I'm just going to start sort of going through the navigation here. First of all, there's the pull-down menus at the top that are common to most Windows applications. And you'll notice as you click on these pull-down menus, in the right-hand margin are keyboard shortcuts. So if you're a keyboard shortcut person, meaning you do Control-C to copy or Control-V to paste, then we recommend that you start using ACT by using these pull-down menus. Because you'll see as you get over, for example, to the schedule pull-down, M is to schedule a meeting and Control-L is to schedule a call, etc. Those save a lot of time once you've learned those keyboard shortcuts. But if you're a menu pull-down person, no worries, you can always click on the pull-downs at the top. The next line down are what are known as the Big Easy buttons, and these are the buttons that are shortcuts to the most commonly used functions of ACT. This toolbar line is not customizable, so you can't change the icons in the order and swap them out for other things on this view. And we'll go back to this because I do like the Big Easy toolbar. There's a lot of things that I like to do from the Big Easy toolbar. The next line down, on that same line where we switch between the detail view or the list view, is another toolbar and the record counter. And the record counter will show you how many contacts you're looking at either in the entire database, which I am looking at the entire database in this view, or in a lookup. So for example, if I were to do a lookup of state equals California, then it would return me the list view, and when I went to a specific contact, it would show me what record that was of the total. So there's 27 contacts in the state of California in this database. So the record key counter is pretty helpful, and you can use these blue arrows on either side to scroll one contact at a time, or you can use the blue arrows with the lines to go to the beginning of the lookup or database or the end of the lookup or database. So those are often helpful as well. This is where we also have the selection of the layout view and other icons that you can actually customize. So for example, I added this email template here. So when I click that, because it's something I do a lot, it's going to pull up an email message in a template format, and I can go through and pick one of my templates to use to send an email to that contact. So you can customize some of the icons on this toolbar. And you might notice that I have some other icons on my toolbar. I have 3 add-ons loaded into my database, or onto this machine rather, that I use. The first is a mapping program. The second is the QSales data. The QSales data is a product that syncs your contact information with your QuickBooks file, so you can see QuickBooks data in ACT, and you can share information back and forth between those two databases. So you only have to change a customer record, for example, on an address in one location, and then you can push that change to QuickBooks or vice versa. The other add-on that I always have installed is Topline Designer and Topline Dash. Those are tools I use all the time. Now I'm going to switch to the left navigation bar over here, and that takes us to some different views. But first I want to talk about the top half of this navigation bar, and that's an area that will provide a quick lookup. For example, it's currently selected to do a lookup on the contact field, and I can move this a little bit bigger so I can see the drop down here. So I can change what field. If I wanted to search on company, I could search there. I don't tend to use this lookup functionality very often, but that's because I have some other shortcuts that I use in terms of lookups. Underneath that is the related tasks area. So depending on the view that you're in, ACT will give you a different set of related tasks. Again, unfortunately, you can't really customize these related tasks for things that you do, but if you're getting used to using ACT and you're new, sometimes these are helpful over here on the left. Then down below that section, we have the ability to look at different views. So the first view is the welcome view. If you're new to ACT, I recommend you spend some time on this page. The next view is the connections view. And in the connections view, there are shortcuts to different services that are integrated with ACT. And all of these services, with the exception of the Google integration and the Outlook synchronization, the rest of these, as you can tell, have a fee associated with them. For more information on those services, you can go to the ACT website. The third icon down is the contacts icon. And again, this is where most users spend a lot of their time, is in the contact or detail or contact list view. Below that is the groups view. Groups are just a way to aggregate contacts. So for example, you could have a list of all of your prospects. You could have a list of your customers. You could have a list of customers that are maybe all of your key contacts, etc. So it's just a way to put all your contacts together, and then you can more easily work with them and view them. The next view is companies. Companies is a way to aggregate additional information as well. So you can associate or link all the contacts that work for a particular company. And then what you're seeing is an aggregate of the information in terms of all the activities, opportunities, history, and notes for all the contacts that are associated with that company. Companies are a great way to do account management, because you don't have to know who said what last to whom. You can just go to the history and see all the recent history. The next view is the calendar view. If you use the ACT calendar, then here's where you'll see the calendar, and the top here you can go to today, which will take you to the current day. The daily view is a single day, the work week, which is my personal preference, the weekly, which includes Saturday and Sunday, and finally the monthly view. These blue arrows on the toolbar will scroll forward 1 month or 1 week at a time, depending on the view that you're in. If you want to go back to the current day, you just click today. Over here on the right, we have the mini calendar and all the tasks in the task pane here, and these would include any timed tasks which show up on a specific time in your calendar, as well as untimed tasks. So follow-up items that you might not have scheduled at a particular time. I'm a big fan of the ACT calendar, although I know the Outlook calendar is ubiquitous. And the reason why I'm a fan of the ACT calendar is that it links the activities to the contact. So you can look at a contact and see what's coming up in the future in terms of what's scheduled with them, as well as what's happened in the past with the history. So again, viewing ACT as the hub of the relationship management tool you use, that we really recommend using the calendar to reinforce that. This is a view that I happen to use a lot. I think that the task list is probably the #1 key to increasing your productivity with ACT. And the next view down is the opportunities. This is where you can track deals in the pipeline, and you can look at specific opportunities and track them related to contacts and or companies. And you can also filter your opportunity list to show specific information. It's also a great way to get some ad hoc report and other more formal standard reports out of ACT in terms of your sales opportunity and pipeline information. The next view down is the reports view. The reports view has a list on the lower half of all the reports that exist out of the box in ACT. And all you have to do to add reports to your favorite is simply click that little checkbox in that column that says Favorite Reports. So for example, if I want to use the Notes History Report, and maybe I want to also look at opportunities by record manager and by product, then you'll see as I check those boxes in that Favorite Reports column, those reports are going to show on the top half. Then to run a report, all I have to do is select it and choose Run Report. The next view is the ACT dashboard view. And the dashboard view has several different options. The default dashboard will show you what your schedule is for that particular day. It'll show you activities by user, and you can filter this to show different date ranges and different users. It'll show you the contact history count by history type. So we can see for Stacy the amount of fields I've changed, emails I've sent, to-dos done, and meetings held. And then in the opportunity pipeline by stage, you can show all of the opportunities and what the dollar figure is for opportunities in all the different stages. You can set a filter to show you your top 10 opportunities down here in this one, and then over here you can show a graph that will depict the total closed sales in a date range and for specific users. The last option here is the search option, and you can do basically a keyword search on any field, all the notes, the history. You can search on groups, companies, opportunities, and you can search all attachments. So any emails that might be attached, and you can do a keyword search for that. The nice thing about these icons here in the left view bar is that you can actually customize them. If you have features you don't use, we can go to the nav bar option. So for example, maybe you're not going to look at the connections information, and I'll take the top line dash off. The welcome screen anymore, you don't want to see that. You can take those off merely by clearing those checkboxes and click OK. And then you're left only with the views that you use that make it most productive for you. Now let's delve into a contact here. So I'm going to go to the contacts view in the left view bar, and I'm looking at Kyle Wetmore's contact record. Again, your view may be different depending on if you are using the basic contact layout that comes with ACT or a customized layout for your company. But most of the information on the main contact screen tends to be pretty similar. So contact, company, title, department, phone contact information, address information, website and email, and then the record manager. The record manager field in ACT is the user of ACT that owns the primary relationship with this contact. And that's a one-to-one, so you can't have multiple record managers associated with a contact. There's many reports and views that you can run with ACT that are based on record manager, and with ACT Premium you can create contact level security, and you can do that by record manager. The next field down is the ID status field. And that's the field that defines the primary relationship between that contact and your organization. I believe this is one of the most important fields in ACT. It's important to be able to categorize your contacts for marketing and follow-up and just general information and knowledge. So how many customers did we add in 2013, for example? Well, you need to be able to have a field, ID status in this case, where you could indicate if the contact was a customer or a prospect. So I highly recommend that you customize this drop down to work for your business, but that you use it in those big bucket categories so that you can do a lookup of all your prospects and maybe send them an email marketing blast, because your messaging for email marketing blasts might be different for prospects versus customers. Customers are people you already have a relationship with. Then there's a field for referred by, industry, and then in this gray box, I put in the fields that I like to have as sort of the snapshot of this contact. So these are system fields that get populated when you do something else in ACT. So for example, if I had a meeting with Kyle Wetmore, it would show here the date of the meeting. It looks like the last time I sent him an email was in July. Over here would be a date if I sent a letter. Though I haven't spoken to him, or here's where it would show up if I recorded a call that I got a hold of him or tried to get a hold of him. The last time the contact was edited and by whom, when the contact was created, and the record manager who was logged into the database when the contact was created or imported. So again, these fields are really helpful because with these fields you can say, give me a lookup of all my prospects where the last email and the last call reach and the last meeting are all greater than 90 days ago. So those are prospects that haven't been touched in the last 3 months. But in order to do that, you have to use these tabs down here at the bottom, and you have to use them correctly. So the first tab is Notes. Notes are just general information about a contact. So maybe I happen to know that Kyle has 4 children and then recently adopted a new baby, which makes 4th kid. So that's just general information about Kyle. It's not related to specifically interaction or communication. All of that would happen on the History tab over here. History is all the interaction and communication that's happened in the past. So you'll see I've sent him emails, I've done a proposal follow-up, and prepared a quote. When I click on the Activities tab, that shows me all the future scheduled activities. And I see here that I have a proposal follow-up scheduled for Kyle tomorrow. So the way to populate these fields on the top half of the screen is to clear these activities and or record history. So let me just run through clearing an activity. So from the Activities tab, I'm going to click the checkbox here, It's going to bring up the clear activity dialog box. I'm going to enter all the notes from the call. I can also schedule a follow-up right from here. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. That removes it from the Activities tab, but it adds it over here to the History tab. And it's right there. And it also populates that last reach field here so that I know the last time I spoke to him was today. You can record history for unscheduled activities as well. Let me go ahead and look up another contact here. I just thought about reaching out to Michaela, and so I picked up the phone and gave her a call. Maybe I saw an email about her company. So I can actually click on the history icon up here, and I can record history that I had a phone conversation. So saw bus ad. Nicely done. Again, I can put in all the important notes from the call. I can schedule a follow-up here if I like. And when I click OK, that's going to populate that last reach field up here. So these fields in this snapshot box, and I created that how I like to view it, are really important and can really help you a lot. All right, let's finish up some of these tabs. So the Opportunities tab will show you all the opportunities for that contact. The Documents tab is where you can either attach documents or attach a shortcut to a document that might live somewhere else on a file server, for example. Groups and Companies will show you what groups this contact is a member of. So when I have it selected here to show for groups and subgroups and click Show Dynamic Membership, it'll bring up all the groups that she's dynamically in. So it shows what contacts have been added in the last 30 days and that I added her to the dashboard. Secondary contacts are tricky, and the reason why they are is because if I was to do a lookup right now of last name equals Palanza, it's going to tell me it's not finding that person in the database. And that's because lookups will only return the results for contacts that are on the top half of the screen or main contact. So if Andy was someone who I wanted to interact with and record history on directly, I would promote him to a full contact. And I can pull data from the primary contacts, from the main contact's primary fields. And then now he's his own contact. Relationships are where you can link one contact to another and relate them. The primary example I use for this is folks that refer you business. So I'm going to go ahead and refer or link Andy to Kyle, and I'm going to say that Andy is a client and Kyle is his consultant. And I can even put in some notes there about the relationship. Kyle referred us to Andy. And then when you go to that contact, you'll see a list of all the contacts that they're linked to. The Customer Details tab is a custom tab that was created with some different custom fields, including the customer ID and last year's purchases. And you'll notice that this is a protected field, which is the type of field you can have in ACT, because although I'm typing on my keyboard, nothing is going in there. So I don't have permissions in order to edit that field. So that field is getting populated by someone else in my organization that has the permissions. There's a tab here for personal information. So if I have his home address, his birthday, maybe his spouse's name, and a personal email. The Web Info tab is a tab where if I logged in here, I would be able to, it would go and search for Andy Palanza on Facebook or LinkedIn, which is the one I use more often. So it'll pull in the weather based on that person's location. So Andy's in San Francisco, so it's pulling in the San Francisco weather here. And you can actually customize links. So I've customized a link to a share drive where I keep my client folders. The business info on the top half of this is related to the Sage Hoover's Connection subscription. So you can just hide that if that's not a subscription you're currently paying for. If I go to the Social Updates tab, this is, if I logged in, it would show me the current information on his LinkedIn or Facebook account. And the last tab is Marketing Results, and that's where you can pull in information based on the outbound e-marketing or email marketing that you can do. Again, that's an additional subscription. So that's the basic overview of ACT and navigating around ACT. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks so much.